demands on more because everybody that's here tonight is doing the least that they can do to make our neighborhood the very best it can be. And so tonight, we're around the table to talk about what more can we do together to make Clinton Hill one of the best neighborhoods in the city of Newark, if not the state of New Jersey, if not this country. So thanks you everybody for being here.
All right, folks, just a quick note from me before we get started, and we're gonna move through tonight's presentation. Please feel free to use the chat for any comments, questions, things like that. We're monitoring that. What we're hoping to do tonight is do a presentation. So there will be ample time for comments, questions, and engagement around this plan. But we're really hoping, to the extent you can, please stay muted. Use the chat if you can, and if you really have something burning that you want to ask, please, chime in, and we'll recognize you, do the best we can. But we have a lot of information to cover, and this was over a year of work for a lot of people involved in this process. So we're excited to share with you what we've got. Katim, awesome. Let you take it away.
Yeah, thank you, Giancarlo. So for those of you I haven't had the pleasure of sitting around the table and doing good work together in the community, my name is Katim. I'm the Executive Director of Clinton Hill Community Action, and we want to welcome you to our Upper Clinton Hill Neighborhood Plan presentation. The voice right before mine was none other than Giancarlo Di Leonardo with New Jersey Community Capital Strategy Team. He has worked with neighborhoods all around the state of New Jersey with community plans like ours and other urban development initiatives. But I have to say this, Giancarlo may not say this, we are the best. We are the most dynamic and engaging community that he has ever worked with ever. But Giancarlo has ably played the role as our community planner as a part of this process. I'm so excited that we were able to partner with Greater Newark as co-conveners of this mighty group to do something that we hadn't seen in a while, and that's put together a comprehensive community development plan for the Upper Clinton Hill portion of the Clinton Hill neighborhood. I want to go to the next slide, Giancarlo. Christina Cherry, we see you out there. Listen, we met Christina's beautiful child this weekend. So Christina, it's good to have you tonight too. So
thanks for having me.
You've been in this conversation with us. You've heard this before, but I want to repeat it really quickly tonight because it just needs to be repeated, right? I know many of us are tired of plans. They're tired of even the suggestion that we got to do more planning. But sometimes you got to jump through the hoops to access the resources and opportunities that are out there. And this is one that I think we can benefit from having a plan, but definitely benefit from having a completed plan that's approved and accepted by the Department of Community Affairs. At the state level, once they accept our plan, our neighborhood is then eligible to apply for up to $1 million to support the priorities in the plan. So follow the bouncing ball with me. The community sets the priorities. We then, on behalf of the community, apply to DCA for resources to support those priorities, and those dollars are going to go right into the coffers of those on the ground who are leading the work. You'll hear from some of those partners tonight. The last time we had a plan as a neighborhood was back in 2006. We're now 2021. This served as a really good opportunity for us to look at what we said was important then, how much of that work got done, and what still remains as we go into the next 5 and 10 years as a neighborhood. The second is, the exciting thing about Clinton Hill is we are not lost for people who want to see our neighborhood be better. There are a number of organizations and individuals who have stepped up and are leading the way on, environmental issues with Kim Gaddy, on health issues with the Southward Promise Neighborhood, education, social services. Our partners at Southward Promise Neighborhood are doing that work. We've got park stewards that are now expanding their focus to advocate for more green spaces in the neighborhood through United Parks as one, Trust for Public Land, and the Mildred Helms Park Reservation. We got a lot of organizations and individuals that are working to make our neighborhood strong. The plan served as an opportunity for us to all put our heads together and say, what are those priorities that we share? Because at the end of this, We want to have some clear goals that the community, that you, residents in the neighborhood, can hold us accountable to. Real simple. Did you do it? How much of it did you do? If you didn't do it, why not? And where do we go forward? That's what accountability looks like, and that's what this plan is going to allow us to do. The last point I want to make is, throughout this process, we had some things that we were not going to do, and we had some things that we were going to do. Engaging residents in the community in a virtual environment, was one of our biggest priorities. I'm excited to say that we reached over 200 residents, and you'll hear about some of that work in just a second. But in terms of some of the stuff that we said we were not going to do, one, we didn't want to reinvent the wheel, right? Some of us around the table have already developed plans in the lanes that we're running in, on public safety, on green spaces, on education. We went to those partners and said, okay, tell us what's still out there in your plans that we can glob onto this work. We also wanted to be sure that we weren't asking residents the same questions. So we did our homework first, right? We went through all of those old plans. We had conversations with folks who led work in the neighborhood, so that we can piggyback on what has already been said, what's already been documented as we go forward. And then lastly, and this is where I give Giancarlo and Haley all the credit, is they kept us on a really tight timeline so that we wouldn't be planning forever. How many of us have been in these planning processes and it seems like it's just never ending? Well, we're coming to the end of this process, and we're going to be quickly moving into implementation phase, and I'm excited about that. Next slide, please. So I think, Giancarlo, are you taking this one, or you want me to run through it?
Excuse me. Yeah, I can do it, Katim. Thanks. Yeah. So good evening, everybody, and thanks, Katim, for that welcome, and hello, everybody. Good evening. So how we got here, I think I saw in the chat, Stefania asked about what this looked like, and last September a steering committee formed, a group of stakeholders, residents, people who are committed to Clinton Hill, and started meeting kind of monthly, and we've been doing that since. Between October and February, our team, myself, Haley Schmidhammer, who's on the call with us tonight, and others, worked on gathering data, evaluating class plans. We talked with the folks at the Cornwall Center. I saw Mike Simmons join us tonight, and other groups who have done work in and around Clinton Hill for the last decade or more. We also had monthly community meetings where we worked with the concerned citizens. Monthly meetings had engagement there every month. We did different activities, different planning activities, focusing on economic development and housing and parks and health and neighborhood building, safety, you name it, we talked about it. And now here we are in April, and now beginning of May, we're presenting you guys with the plan. Starting now and leading up to the next 30 days, there will be what's called a public review period, where we have to send this not only to you guys as the community, but also to the city, get their feedback. And then our goal is to submit this to the state of New Jersey, as Katim mentioned, the Department of Community Affairs, by the middle of June. That is the deadline they've given us, and that's where we're headed, and we're right on schedule. So this is an exciting time to share this with you, and it's the culmination of 8, 10, 12 months worth of work, at least. And I know that there's lots of work that happened before this as well, with the folks from LISC, Southward Promise Neighborhood, and others who have engaged in this work. So a little bit more about the plan. Katim was a little short on the numbers here. We've got over 350 folks engaged, and I know it's more than that. That's how many people I counted throughout this process. I know there were other conversations that were happening without me present. We had 6 large community meetings. We had one-on-one interviews with folks. We had small group discussions. Partners were at the table every step of the way, discussing what their priorities are and what they're working on and how we can integrate this together. That steering committee, as I mentioned, there were residents, partner organizations, business owners, other stakeholders from the neighborhood, folks from citywide organizations like LISC or Beth Israel Hospitals at the table. Other groups as well. And we had a strong foundation. Again, that evaluating past plans was key. You guys have been planned to death. I think you all know that. The team has talked about that at length. So we really dove in there, and again, didn't want to ask you guys the same questions. We wanted to kind of, what worked from that? What didn't work from that? And how can we move forward? That was our goal from the get-go. And again, we're committed to empowering resident leaders throughout this process. So, there are going to be things that you guys are going to see over the next couple minutes over the course of this presentation that came right from your mouths. And that's the goal of this, is to take what you guys are experiencing, what you're wanting to see over the next 5 to 10 years and put it into action. That's the goal here. So again, that path forward, as Katim kind of talks about, implementation we're going to be moving into, is about transparency, it's about accountability, it's about building capacity, and that's our partners, people who are working on implementing this thing, as well as the residents of the community, and also to find creative solutions to some of these challenges. The things that we're working to address, the things that are the focus areas of this plan, didn't get the way that they are overnight, and they're not going to change overnight. So we have a good 5 to 10 year window to work on this, and some of this stuff might take longer than that, but we're in it for the long haul, and we're working together to make that happen. And this is a strong foundation to get there. So I want to just give you a quick kind of underpinning of data from the neighborhood, just to kind of help shape where we came from and why some of the things are the way, why some of the strategies are the way they are. So Upper Clinton Hill, as you guys know it, and I zoomed past the map, but I think you guys are all familiar where Upper Clinton Hill is. It's, for our purposes, it's Avon to Route 78, from Bergen Street up to the border of Irvington. So that's the area we're focused on here for this plan. That neighborhood is 91% African American or Black, 5.9% Hispanic of all races, 1.3% white, and 1% Asian. About 30% of residents are under the age of 18, so you got a young population, and about 12.5% are people. So we don't have a ton of elders in the neighborhood, but the folks who are there, I know were very involved in this process, and I'm happy that they were. On the housing front, only about 20% of housing units are owner occupied in the neighborhood. It's very low. Citywide in Newark, it's in the high 20s. So the fact that you guys are much lower than that is obviously something we want to work on. 27% of houses were built before 1940. You have an older housing stock. With that comes challenges. I know some of the things we talked about throughout this process was a home repair program, helping address some of the health issues that come with living in some of the housing units in the neighborhood. So that's something we're focused on. Keisha and some of the folks in the neighborhood, I think some of you guys were on this call, helped do a property by property survey in 2019. During that time, we identified almost 250 vacant residential properties in the neighborhood, and 320 or so vacant lots. This is, again, higher than the average, higher than the norm in the city of Newark, and something we want to address. But with that comes opportunity. I mean, those are opportunities for more affordable housing. That's opportunities for pocket parks and community gardens and things like that. So these are things that you'll see more in the strategies. The average home price in 2019, which has gone up kind of considerably, is about $215,000, but it's still lower than the citywide average. It's in the 260s. Okay, so more on data. So community health, 70% of adults report being overweight. So getting people active again is a goal here. 13% of adults have asthma, 13% have diabetes, 27% have high cholesterol, almost 40% have high blood pressure. I mean, these are all indicators of a need to work on community health. I know Kim Cook, folks at Israel are at the table ready to help on that, but we all have to work on that. The community health is something we all need to be vigilant on. About 19% of residents were unemployed before COVID. I know that's probably gone up quite a bit. 83% of residents have a high school degree or higher, which is actually close to the statewide average. It's I think about 86%. Mike Simmons could check me on that in the comments if I'm wrong. The median household income in the neighborhood is about $30,000. In Newark, it's $35,000, and New Jersey, it's $80,000. So there's a long way to go to bring folks in the neighborhood up to where the state is, but that's something that we can work on. We can work to address. And the top jobs in the neighborhood, the top sectors where people work are education, accommodation, food service, healthcare, and transportation and warehousing. I think that's not a surprise to anybody on this call. I think you and your neighbors probably are familiar with those sectors and where those folks work. And lastly, on the Parks and Rec side, there's about 4.5 acres of parkland in the neighborhood, and that's Mildred Helms, Homestead Park, and Herpers Park over there by the high school. And Hawthorne Avenue Farm, which right now is a green space, but may not be forever. As you guys know, that was supposed to be a school at one point. That's a 2.5 acre site, which is a huge community need right now, but we have to figure out a way to preserve that either at that site or in aggregate in other parts of the neighborhood. So those are things that I wanted to just share with you guys to underpin where we're going. And Katim, I think you're taking the partnerships.
You got it. So this is the slide I'm probably most excited about in all of our presentation. Yes, the priorities are important, but none of it is going to be new to you. The big question is, how are we going to organize ourselves to get this work done, right? Like, what is the implementation execution plan for the work look like? And this is just an early part of that conversation. The thing I want to say at the top of this is that across the board, residents are a part and a central part of the process. Clinton Hill Community Action, we don't do our work unless we have residents at the table helping us make decisions, helping us sort of steer the course of this ship, and the same is true for the neighborhood plan. We do have a couple partners that are going to help us stay organized. So the South Ward Promise Neighborhood has a collaborative action network of 22 plus partners that span a number of issues, mostly on the social service side and education related. And so they're definitely going to be our lead partner on the priority around education and wellness and social services. We are part of that collaborative action network, Clinton Hill Community Action, and we lead the housing group. And so the South Ward Promise Neighborhood is going to help us stay honest around two of our big priorities: housing, education, wellness, and social services. Our other convening partner is Greater North List. Many of you all have gotten to know Milan, who works very closely with us on a number of fronts. But that's a stakeholders group that's convened in Clinton Hill that includes a lot of the community-based organizations who more so focus on broader community development issues. So economic development, environmental justice, green spaces and sustainability, and then the ongoing work that LIST directly contributes to around resident empowerment and community building will all be sort of organized as a part of Greater North List Clinton Hill Coalition. Again, the big thing to remember here is who are the partners that are going to keep us honest. One is South Ward Promise Neighborhood and their collaborative action network, and the other is Greater North List and the Clinton Hill Coalition. Those are the tables that we're going to go back to, continue to do our planning, report back to, et cetera. And who are we accountable to? It's the key partners. Those resident leaders are at the top of every bucket there, who will be the real truth sayers to say whether or not we're making sufficient progress or not. We'll get into the priorities, but the two things that you're not going to see as explicit in the priorities, but we wanted to make sure you knew it was baked in, is one, the focus on public safety. Plans like this before have called out public safety as a priority by itself, and sometimes that work gets siloed and sort of just isolated over there to the crime conversation. But one of the things that came out of our listening session is no matter what topic we talked about, whether it was what we could do in the commercial corridors to improve the businesses, public safety came up. People talked about the loitering outside of businesses. They talked about the sense of feeling safe to shop in our commercial corridors. Same was true when it came down to education in our schools and some of the work that North Community Street Team does around the safe passageways. And you get the point here. Housing is the same. Public safety is going to be in every conversation that we have, and we're going to continue to work with the North Community Street Team to lead that work. You will see a sort of priority called out for creative placemaking. This is because this is what you told us was really important. When we got out of the space of talking about what we need and started talking about what we wanted, the arts and culture was headline above them all. In terms of the community's history in arts and culture and the opportunity for us to do more in that area. And so you'll see that creative placemaking, the inclusion of arts and culture is embedded in all of our focus areas as we sort of move forward with goals for the plan. Giancarlo?
Pop quiz. Who's at the head of our partner network? Pop quiz. Who's at the head of our partner network?
And this is the pop quiz for the Cash App prizes now. So
yes,
jump in, raise your
quiz.
hand.
Who's at the head?
Southward Promise.
Oh, nope.
Liz.
Nope.
Oh.
That was
New
a
York,
trick question.
Israel.
No. Oh, wow.
Residents.
Clinton Hill.
No, who said residents? Who said residents?
Amir Washington.
Some residents yet to be named.
Amir Washington.
Kim Gaddy.
All right, very good, very good. Tell me who you want to send that Cash App to.
Let's make a donation to the Boys and Girls Club.
Yeah.
To the youth on the call.
Yes, very good. Yep.
Awesome. So Renato's going to be doing these pop quizzes throughout. So make sure you take good notes.
All right, folks. So now we're getting into the focus areas and the strategies of this plan. And this is, I mean, it's up on the slide and it's true. You guys spoke, we listened. Our goal here is to put down what you said, but also to remain flexible and creative. I mean, over the next 5 to 10 years, things change. We all know that. When the folks at Episcopal developed their plan in 2006, no one saw the recession coming. No one saw the housing crisis coming. So we want to make sure we're flexible, and we want to make sure that, God forbid, something happens again, whether it's another COVID-like event or whether it's something with the economy, we're prepared and we can remain flexible, and Clinton Hill Community Action and the partners can address that as such. So our goal here is, again, to be flexible with these strategies, but to advance the goals that you guys set. As we move through these, different partners are going to be sharing the different focus areas. And they're a little out of order because I know Kim Gaddy's got the session coming up. So Kim, you're first, but you're technically focus area number 3. So take it away.
Okay, well, thank you. And good evening, everyone. Our quality of life is definitely impacted by our environment. It's everywhere. We can't escape from it. It's where our children go to school. It's where we recreate with our families. It's where we go to pray, and it's where we work. So it is very important that focus area 3 is concerned with our environmental justice, green spaces, and sustainability. We want to make sure that when you hear the term green in the Clinton Hill community, that it's not just something people are saying because that is the buzzword of 2021. No, we're saying it because we believe that all of us should have open space to recreate. We should have parks within walking distance so that families can be outside and enjoy the greenery. Individuals who want to recreate and participate in community gardens, they should be able to have access to those. And then more importantly, we want to make sure that the programs that we establish, we can enhance and support them. We want to make sure that our youth will also be trained up to be the future leaders of all these different categories. And our health is our wealth, right? So when you talk about, we have some complaints about sidewalks because of our trees. We need trees as a buffer to cleanse the air so that we can breathe. But we also have to make certain adjustments. If the wrong trees were planted, if they're being uprooted on the sidewalks, then let's find out other ways that we can replace those so that we can have fresh air. We also want to make sure that the policies that we focus on and we implement is always about protecting our health. You saw the numbers with asthma, diabetes. There's a high increase of cancers. So we want to also make sure that we are making sure the air we breathe is safe, the water we drink is healthy, and the food we eat, we have proper access to it, and it doesn't have pesticides and all kind of chemicals and contaminated grounds. So these are some of the things that are really important. And then I'm going to end on the fact that we also need to train up our individuals for this emerging green economy, right? It is very important that as we are focusing on stormwater retention and the replacement of our lead service lines, that we are training up individuals for those jobs. When we're looking at clean energy and we're looking at solar farms and things of that nature, that we can train up and employ the residents within our own community, because that is the triple bottom line, and that is environmental justice. We want equity, where those that are most marginalized have the opportunity to be able to be at the front. And so I hope that hit all your points. I'm just shooting from the hip. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Kim.
Great job, Kim Gotti. Great job. And I know you got to run for Asthma Day. We'll see you over on that one in just a second. The other thing I would add, just to highlight, is trees, trees, trees. That was a consistent point that we heard from the community listening sessions that were organized a couple summers ago, and even in this neighborhood planning process. People either wanted more trees, they wanted the trees that we have to be properly maintained, and they wanted the trees that are impacting the sidewalks and doing other sort of damage in our community to our built infrastructure to be addressed. So that's definitely a part of this plan. Awesome. Thanks, Kim. All right. So now I'm up to talk about housing. As you know, Clinton Hill Community Action was started to focus on the physical redevelopment of the neighborhood, which includes being a lead advocate on sort of the built infrastructure in the neighborhood, including housing. So more affordable housing, more quality housing. So we had a couple of meetings with different groups and residents on this one. This one got even interesting because folks had a whole lot to say on this. So we are committed to having a follow-up meeting just on housing. It was a very rich conversation. But what we were able to sort of pull from the past plans and the feedback that we got this go round was that we need to continue our advocacy for quality, affordable housing. And this includes some of the work that we're doing around healthy homes, but also some of the work that's happening in the neighborhood to redevelop some of the vacant and abandoned properties. And my hope is that we can get ahead of the train here, because too often folks come and buy property in our community. We don't know who owns it. There's no sort of pressure on them to run back in active use. Some properties have changed hands and still are vacant. And so we want to turn up the advocacy knob on this, so that when folks buy property in our community, that they, at a bare minimum, are responsible for taking care of that property until they can get it in active use. But we want to see if we can accelerate them turning these properties into affordable housing. And I underscore the point around affordable. We need all types of housing, right? We need market rate housing. We need subsidized housing. And we do need workforce housing that people who work a 9-to-5 can afford. And so we want to get with some of these developers before they put the properties online, see how we can incentivize them to commit to levels of affordability that work for our neighborhood. And we know that means putting some resources into the affordable housing bucket. The last one, and I see some conversation happening on the chat. If we could just go back. Yep, home ownership. I mean, not a whole lot to say here, but I saw somebody comment about home buyer education classes. That's in here. Some incentives to help people, with the biggest hurdle in buying a home, and that's coming up the down payment and closing costs. There's a lot of resources out there. How do we make sure that Clinton Hill residents are accessing them? Next slide. Again, on our housing priority here, we got two additional focus areas. So one is, you heard earlier about the aging housing stock that we have. And there are a lot of folks who just can't afford the maintenance and upkeep. The resources in our community to assist with that. We got young people who need to learn the construction trade. We got skilled handmen and contractors in our neighborhood. How can we activate all of those assets and resources to support folks in our neighborhood with minor repairs that they need to make to keep their homes safe and sound for them? And the other thing here is, we know that we need to use the tools that are available to us effectively. Code enforcement, I know we don't have meetings about this, but they have asked to start anew. They want to be an active tool that we use to encourage people to maintain their properties. And so we're going to be having conversations with code enforcement about how we can really strengthen that relationship and their assistance and helping us make sure people take care of their properties. And then lastly, on the quality housing, not to repeat what I said before about the aging housing infrastructure and the healthy homes work, but that continues to be a big issue for us, because while the mayor has led the way in getting the lead out of our water in terms of replacing the the water service lines, we still have a number of homes that have paint in them before lead paint was banned in 1978. And so how do we get those homeowners and renters tied into the resources that can help them get their windows replaced and cover up or remove some of the lead paint and pipes in their homes? So quality housing will continue to be a big housing priority for us.
Over to Renice.
Renice, are you with us?
Yeah.
Awesome. Can you take this one on economic development? Yeah.
Oh, what's going on, team? Or you just want me to read the slide?
Yeah, you can just present the slide.
Okay, so as many of you know, we have a great deal of economic going on. So the primary role, I'm sorry, you guys had to decline a call. A vibrant and commercial district business space, and that's the startup capital to small businesses to improve the aesthetics of the commercial corridor, support economic development and economic businesses and local artistry makers. As you know, we have the building that will soon be opening up at 505 Clinton Avenue, right there on the corner of Chadwick. So that's definitely going to improve the area. And then we're also looking to attract new businesses to come in those vacant and underutilized areas. And so that kind of comes to some of the things that we've already talked about as far as security, safety, and that as well. And then we're talking about secure, stable economic standing, as everybody programs, financial literacy and education programs, and to become the home of green jobs. I love that one. On a corridor with jobs in a new economy. So, we've talked about this individually and everyone else through the team and everyone else that we know we have to be innovative here. And Clinton Avenue and Clinton Hill is definitely a space to be able to do that.
Thanks, Renice.
Thanks so much, Renice. And I just to underscore what Renice just said, I mean, jobs is a big part of our whole economic development plan.
Renatha, I think you're taking this one.
Nope, that's me.
Oh, sorry.
Yep. So as I said earlier, even though the arts and culture sort of stands out and across all of our focus areas, we do have a specific focus on the arts because this is what we want our community to be. Sort of the positive assets that we have to leverage between the arts programming that's already happening in some of our schools and what will be happening at the new 505 Artists housing project. And so the opportunity to really, lift up some really signature arts programs. Like when you think about Lincoln Park, downtown and their house music festival, what is sort of the arts program that Clinton Hill will be known for that people all around town, including the people who live right in the neighborhood, are going to flock to? We heard really good ideas. People said that we should do a jazz festival in Mildred Helms Park. But we want to be a part of promoting arts and culture activities in our community. Artist housing, that goes without saying. 505 is the best representation of that. Public art. I know that Clinton Hill is going to teach the city of Newark how to do public art well, where artists in the community are working together, talking together to produce art that represents the neighborhood. With our Beat the Blight campaign, we made some mistakes, right? And we got some stuff wrong. But in that process, we learned really valuable lessons from folks in the community on how to bring those two worlds together. And so we do want to continue public art, but we want it to be resident-led and resident-driven. And then lastly, we've got a number of artists and creatives in the city of Newark, but we got a ton of them in Clinton Hill. How do we ensure that there is sort of an open invitation that makes Clinton Hill the hub for artists in the city? Now it's Renata.
All right. So I'm chatting about resident empowerment and community building. So Clinton Hill Community Action was created to promote Upper Clinton Hill as the neighborhood of choice, a neighborhood of choice. Tree-lined streets, walkable paths, benches, you know, a neighborhood of choice. And so we're going to attain that goal by making sure that residents are at the helm and there's resident leadership and a shared vision for the community. So that's through community organizing and empowering resident leaders and helping them lead through advocacy efforts to propel the neighborhood toward that shared vision. So over the past few years, Clinton Hill Community Action, Greater Newark List, partners like the Mildred Homes Resurrection Committee, United Parks is one, Southwood Promise Neighborhood. I can't name everybody, but we've been working together to development block level community leaders to support and lead efforts to transform neighborhood parks, schools, vacant and abandoned properties. And resident leaders have also been actively involved in discussions about the community, safety, and the environment. So throughout the planning process, residents made it clear that they expect to be at the table when big decisions are being made concerning Upper Clinton Hill. It is an expectation, and so we heard that. While CHCA and Greater Newark List and neighborhood partners have made significant progress in engaging residents, there are still more voices that we have not heard from in Clinton Hill, Upper Clinton Hill. And so we're putting strategies and activities in place that will focus on that area and including more neighborhood voices and more individuals and more folks that are in the streets that, you know, nobody goes on, and the streets that, you know, in the buildings that, you know, no one, that we can't have access to. So we want to make sure we focus on getting those voices to the table while cultivating leadership, programming, and strengthening Upper Clinton Hill's identity as a neighborhood of choice. All right. And so, you know, with that, we just want to make sure that it's known that resident empowerment and community building is priority number one on the list for this focus area. Yep.
And
Good
last but not
evening.
least, Councilman, 1 second. Katim,
Yep. The councilman, he's able to hop in right quick.
And I will be remiss, yes, I want to also, I will be remiss. Hey, Councilman James. Councilman James, he's also in that bucket, you know, in it with us too. So I would be remiss to not include the councilman, because every time we call, he answers. Go ahead, Councilman James.
I know his schedule was a little tight, so if you got a minute to chime in now, we welcome it.
Yeah, not a problem. I really appreciate what you guys have been doing. You're very professional. I will support you. Everything you guys come up with is creative, collaborative, and it is about the community. City Hall can't do it alone. We're all residents here. We all, you know, want the best, want a good quality of life. And so the more voices are heard, the more we can react to things.
I'm Yolanda Stokes, Southwood Promise Neighborhood. I just would like to focus our minds on a quote that President Barack Obama stated: "Education is the currency of the information age. No longer just a pathway to opportunity and success, but a prerequisite." So with that being stated, where we say education, wellness, and social services to support high quality education facilities, advocating for new and well-maintained public school facilities, ensure every child 0 to 5 have access to affordable quality child care, and also rehabilitate the Clinton Branch Library and program it for neighborhood, after school, and summer youth enrichment activities. One of the other things in education, the vision here is that all children have an unimpeded path to unlock their limitless potential, and also becoming the healthiest neighborhood. I vision some of our seniors, and the community itself being able to go to dance studios and wellness centers, within their walking distance, where they don't have to drive a half an hour, just to go walk on a treadmill for a half an hour. They can walk out their door and in 5 minutes they're there. And also they will socialize with other residents in the community. So safe, well-lit walking and cycling paths throughout the neighborhood. I'm starting to see people ride bicycles more, which is great. Promote food security and a network of corner stores with fresh green products. And I would like to end with this here statement by Malcolm X. Education is the passport to the future, for tomorrow belongs to those who prepare today. And that's what I see this neighborhood plan as preparation. Thank you.
Thanks, Yolanda. Hey, Katim. Take it.
Yeah, so yeah, we're wrapping up. Again, this was an opportunity to present the plan to you. This is just the start of our ongoing community engagement process. We have to leave the plan open for 30 days for people to comment on it. That's the bare minimum of what DCA has required us to do. In addition to that, we're going to continue to do our one-on-one meetings with folks who have been doing this work, like Danye and others, for a number of years, so we can benefit from the lessons learned of having tried many of the things that we've talked. My grandfather used to say all the time, ain't nothing new under the sun, right? Some of the stuff that we've talked about tonight, has been tried, and we need to understand what are the hurdles that gets in the way of execution, of implementation, of actually making things happen. So we're going to be reaching out to veteran stakeholders in the neighborhood, some new energy in the neighborhood, so we can talk to them very specifically about some of the ideas we have to get feedback on how do we make it happen? How do we make it happen? So we've got a list of about 40 folks that we want to sit down with over the next 30 days. But if anybody in this group wants a one-on-one with us, just drop your information in the chat. We'll reach out, set it up, and we are anxiously awaiting an opportunity to hear from you. In addition to the 30 days, just open comment, you can go to our website, share feedback with us in the one-on-one meetings that we're going to be having. We're also going to ask residents like yourselves to host a virtual porch party with your neighbors and other folks in the community. These are just small group meetings. Hop on a Zoom like this, because we're still in a COVID environment, where we can get your feedback in a smaller group session, answer questions, and talk to you more about some of the details in the plan. And we're looking to do at least 6 virtual porch parties. But if we got people here tonight who wants to host a porch party and we end up doing 20, all the better. So if you're willing to host a porch party, all you got to do is get 2 or 3, maybe even 5 of your neighbors together to join us. And we're happy to come share a portion of the plan and get more feedback. If you haven't been by our new office, we're located on Hawthorne Avenue, right next door to the NAN Tech Center at 404 Hawthorne Avenue. And we're going to be hosting open office hours, where you literally could either call in or stop by, and we can talk either one-on-one or in a small group about the plan and get your feedback there. Bottom line, we just have a lot of doors open, a lot of windows open to get as much input as we start to round out the ideas portion of this plan and move into implement. So just one last comment on the open feedback. You can email comments or questions to us at community@clintonhillaction.org. But everybody that's here tonight, we should have your contact information. We'll send the PowerPoint, the plan to you directly. It'll also be posted on our website. And if you want to host a virtual porch party, be a part of the one-on-one interview meetings that we're going to do, just let us know. We want to hear and touch as many folks in the community as we can.